With the dishonor of Batman vs. Superman coming out soon, I think I'd look at some of the other most famous versus movies through history and what they're about, and who ends up being the victor and who ends up being the loser. The first being Earth versus the Flying Saucer. This came out during the 1950s when there was a barrage of science fiction horror movies and thrillers. And with most of these alien invading movies, it's usually the aliens are going to win, and it just depends on how long the humans can last. But with this, the humans and aliens are perfectly even, and it almost feels just like a war movie. In this movie, it's a happy ending, and the humans basically winning with their special weapon. With King Kong vs. Godzilla, it's basically giant movie monsters battling each other, with kind of a culture thing being that King Kong kind of represents the West and Godzilla represents the East, and they're clashing together. Eventually, at the end, King Kong comes out the victor, almost feeling like King Kong was in fact the hero and Godzilla was the villain of the movie. Dracula vs. Frankenstein, the 1969 version. This is probably known as one of the worst movies ever made, and it takes two of the most iconic horror monsters from the Golden Age and have them duke it out. And with this one, there's clearly a winner. Dracula ends up ripping Frankenstein to pieces and coming out the victor, even though he eventually does succumb to sunlight and dies. So you might think it's a tie, but in fact Dracula did kill Frankenstein before he died, so I guess Dracula does win. Kramer vs. Kramer. Now from monsters and aliens we go right down back to Earth, and it's just about two people, a divorced couple who end up trying to fight over their son, proving you don't really need a versus movie to have fighting in it. In this heartfelt drama, eventually Kramer comes out the victor in the end. The People vs. Larry Flynt, another courtroom drama, stars the infamous Larry Flynt, the person behind the Hustler magazines. It deals with the conflict of the issues of law and taste, and what is freedom of speech all about. Even though it spans over multiple cases, at the end Larry eventually does end up winning. Freddy vs. Jason, two other iconic horror movie villains squaring off. Unlike Dracula and Frankenstein that goes back to the Golden Age, this goes all the way back to the 80s, where it was mostly a big deal between fans that these two should actually get to be in one movie. This ending is actually mostly up for interpretation, that even though Jason does end up coming out on top, you could even say that Freddy has the upper hand, because at the end they're in fact in a nightmare. It's kind of a controversial ending, but I mostly think Jason is the victor with this one. Alien vs. Predator. These are two science fiction icons squaring off between each other. And because these creatures are a species, there seems to be multiple ones of them. Eventually, in the end, the Predator comes out on top, almost appearing like the hero in the story. Monsters vs. Aliens, a movie from DreamWorks. This is one of the very few animated versus movies, and with this it's basically, like the title explains, monsters versus aliens. It all boils down to 5 aliens versus supreme alien technology and a mass alien army, where the monsters eventually do end up defeating them. And the last movie on the list, Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan. This time it's 2 anime icons versus each other. One a master thief, another one a kid detective. Being they're both good guys, well, kind of, there's no real winner. It's kind of a tie, even though Detective Conan does get the upper hand. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure to like and subscribe. This is MacMedia 1000 signing out.